mean, I know it's called Screaming Titan, but it's not really screaming a whole lot.
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Taryn, and welcome to Whiskey Break.
And today we are reviewing Redwood Empire's newest offerings. They're calling this the Small Lot Series. We have Devil's Tower Bourbon and Screaming Titan Bourbon. Devil's Tower is a high rye bourbon mash bill, and Screaming Titan is going to be their wheated bourbon mash bill.
Awesome. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Devil's Tower. Let's see if we can get on the nose.
It's definitely very strong. Getting bright fruit, for sure.
Yeah, it's not a ton of ethanol or anything like that on the nose. I definitely agree with light fruit. I think I get mostly apple. I would say it's not quite like cherry or anything like that. It's more of the like lighter, like apples, peaches, that type of thing. On the nose, it's very apple forward.
I'm getting pretty strong apple juice. Like really sweet apples. Not necessarily like super crisp, light apples or like going through an apple orchard, but pretty apple juicy. And I'm maybe getting like a hint of like a peach as well. Kind of like when they do those apple cran, but apple peach. It smells really good.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to smell.
Yeah.
It's definitely quite warm on the palate. I don't quite get like tons of like the nutmeg or spice or things like that, but you definitely get the warmth and like the rye presence. To me, it still stays apple through on the palate. It's still in that light fruit territory.
Yeah, I think I disagree with you a little bit. I like right when I first took a sip, I felt a little bit of nutmeg or allspice of some kind. And I think that maybe is like the warmth you were talking about. But yeah, I do agree that there's definitely apples throughout. I think that aftertaste is still there, very appley, and again, I feel like I'm getting kind of like that peach note kind of throughout as well. Just a little different than full apple. Yeah. But I definitely think it's very bright fruit forward.
Yeah. I think the proof is definitely correct on it. Like it's a 99 proof, and I feel like it's just enough. It's not too simple or too watery, too easy, but you still get like a ton of that warmth like once you sip it. Barrel proof might have been a little too crazy on it, honestly.
Just overall really nice sipping whiskey.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing weird. I would not clock this as being like super youthy or young or anything like that. Yeah. I don't get any like weird barrel notes. It tastes like a high rye bourbon, and I think the biggest positive is that it leans more appley, light fruity, instead of just being standard vanilla or spice, things like that. We
are huge fans of Redwood Empire. We were excited when they came out with this series. It's definitely beautiful. The graphic designer or illustrator on these bottles, they do a great job. We really were looking forward to this, and I feel like this does not disappoint.
These are definitely pricey bottles for what you get. They're 5 years old, and it's going to be about $80 to $90 depending on where you get it. So you're definitely buying it to kind of support them and kind of a little bit of the craft whiskey tax. But this does taste unique. On the nose, it's maybe not necessarily worth that $80 price point, but there's nothing wrong with it, or it's not like it. To me, it doesn't necessarily need another 3 years to be good or anything like that. Like it stands on its own already. And now let's move into the Screaming Titan. So this is going to be the wheated bourbon mash bill. And full disclaimer, we are usually not wheated bourbon fans. Really not big fans of Maker's Mark and Larceny, even a lot of the Weller bottles we've been able to try. And some we really don't like, and most are fine, but we just struggle to get notes that we really like on them. It's just, it ends up being a very standard, just sweet, and it's not really worth it to us.
We're expecting good things, especially from Redwood. You know, being one of our favorite distilleries, we're really hoping for maybe something that'll change our minds.
Like I said, if we could get more of those like fruit notes or just really just anything going on, that would definitely be helpful. But
for sure,
again, just full disclaimer, if we don't like this one, it's not that.
Maybe don't take our word for it.
Yes. mostly got it because it just looks like a really awesome bottle. Like I want it on the shelf.
So far, I'm not really getting a whole lot.
Yeah. I struggling to pick up any crazy notes on the nose. It's definitely a lot spicier to me on the nose.
I'm getting, when I kind of pull away a little bit, I'm getting like that slight hint of like red hot, but it doesn't stay.
Cinnamon. Yeah, I would say it's funny because it definitely smells proofy and it smells a little stronger on the nose, but I wouldn't call it ethanol-y or anything like that. I think, maybe the slightest hint of cinnamon.
Yeah, it's a little sweet, but more so in that kind of like an agave or a simple syrup.
Yeah.
There's not really a whole lot going on with that sweetness.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like there's more like nutmeg and allspice and baking spice, things like that on this nose compared to the Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
But even then, that might be a bit of a stretch to say that.
Yeah. I'm getting maybe a little bit of wood, but like I said, not really a whole lot.
Yeah.
Let me take a sip.
Mm-hmm.
Again, finding it a little hard to pick out some notes.
Yeah, the heat comes through on the palate. Honestly, very similarly to the Devil's Tower in terms of proof and everything. I believe this is just a few proof points lower, but it's warm for sure.
Yeah.
Especially for an under 100 proof bourbon. But outside of that, I mean, again, there's nothing bad. Like, I'm not getting any weird bitterness or any, like, weird woodiness or anything like that. I think, like you said, maybe a little bit of wood notes in general, but again, just kind of nondescript. Not even necessarily a ton of char.
Yeah, I'm like, I can get a little bit of barrel char, but really not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, I think I'm missing the fruit notes from the Devil's Tower, or just like those are the notes I really gravitate towards, and I don't think it's here at all.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some cinnamon there. I do get, especially at the end of the finish, I get a hint of, I get it on some of the other Redwood bottles, but I don't quite know how to describe it, but I think it's a slight bubblegum note.
Yeah.
Kind of that area. Maybe even like a little bit of like grapefruit, something in that neighborhood. It's hard to describe. I imagine it's something to do with their yeast strain or something like that, but I didn't quite get it on the Devil's Tower. I think the apple notes and stuff covered it up, but I do get a tiny hint of it at the end on this one.
I mean, I know it's called Screaming Titan, but it's not really screaming a whole lot. I'm not really getting a lot of notes. It's almost a little disappointing just because I know how good Redwood Empire can be. Yeah. And I really want to like this. I really wanted it to change my mind maybe about wheated bourbons, but there's just really not a whole lot going on, and I don't really know what else to say about it. It's okay.
It definitely falls in line. With having less rye, you'd think it'd be less spicy, but I feel like every time I try a wheated bourbon, it ends up being more spicy because it's just ethanol and a little bit of sweetness. And I feel like this one, at least, again, it's not crazy ethanol forward like I've had on some other wheated bourbons, but it's just very standard warm bourbon, especially for the $80. Like I said, you may not, generally with these types of products, you may not be able to get a perfect $80 bourbon experience, but at least you get something unique. And I think this kind of falls short of that. All right, now let's just talk about our final thoughts on these two bourbons. So I think let's start with the Devil's Tower and just our taste review on it, probably out of 5.
Yeah.
I think I'd say 3.5 to 4. The only reason why I'm not saying 4 outright is because I do feel like I am probably a little biased. I do like everything Redwood Empire. Yeah. But with that said, it has a lot of those really good apple notes and light fruit notes. That's why I'm way more interested in than just a standard wood char and vanilla. And I can't think of a ton of bottles that it tastes like. Like, if you ask me to find apple noted bourbons, this is kind of it that comes to mind. Maybe there's 1 or 2 others out there, but especially not finished.
Maybe more like an apple pie, but not quite.
Yeah, so I would say 3.5 to 4 out of 5. What about you?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked by that a little bit because I really, really, really like this one. Yeah. I actually would probably give it closer to like a 4, 4.5 because it kind of gives me obviously it doesn't taste the same, but similar vibes to like a barrel seagrass, where it's just so bright and just airy, and it makes me want to sip it. It's definitely like one of those things that you might call like a summer sipper.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I would totally drink this bottle daily. I think it's going to be one of my favorites for sure. I think having tried it a couple times, it's very consistent. I feel like there hasn't been a lot that's changed about it.
Yeah.
And I just really like it. I think it's really good. And again, it's a contender for one of my favorites.
It's very easy to go back to. It's got just enough proof and everything going on to be excited while you're drinking it, but then the finish doesn't last forever. It doesn't blow you out. You can go back and finish another glass. It's very easy to go back to. Value-wise, I would say it's pretty good. I don't think it's quite in the great value area, but it's priced correctly, I think, at $80, especially, again, they are a craft distillery. If they were able to get this down to $60, then that would be, I think, a fantastic value of being able to get something that's like really unique for in that price range. I think, honestly, if you're paying anything under that $100, that's kind of what you're going to get from it. Yeah.
I think you said it perfectly. I think it's good price for right now. I think if they can get it down just still slightly more, I think they've got a winner on their hands.
Yeah. I think most I'd pay, I think $100 might be a bit hard to justify, but I think anything under that, the 80 to 90 that they have it at, you should be able to find a bottle for that price, and I think that's where it makes sense for me.
I agree. I think if Jonathan brought this home for more than 100, might have changed my opinion on the value.
And then going into the Screaming Titan. So taste-wise, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just definitely not up our alley.
Yeah.
It's probably in that just 2 to 2.5 range.
Yeah.
Where it's, again, there's nothing wrong with it. I can finish my glass. There's no bitter notes. There's no youthy notes. I wouldn't peg it as like something like really weird and crafty.
Totally.
It's just not much going on. There's a ton of different bottles I'd rather go to or try for even under like $50. So just don't think it's there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fair to give it a 2. I think it's obviously not my favorite, but yeah, it's just okay in my opinion. I think I definitely wouldn't be grabbing for this one, and it's kind of disappointing.
A weeded bourbon fan might have a different opinion, but at least for us, it's not the bottle for us, but we appreciate it, being able to try it and having it on the shelf.
It looks amazing.
So yeah, so I'd say value's pretty poor, and probably the most I'd pay is I probably wouldn't buy it again. I would prefer if it was cheaper and just be able to like have the whole line without spending too much, but yeah, I don't think it's for us. Much prefer the Devil's Tower.
Yeah, I think honestly, price point is a little rough at where it's at right now. Just for my opinion and my palate, I don't know if you came home with this for $50, I'd probably say that was fair.
Yeah, just again to more so just try something different or just support Redwood Empire, but yeah, for the 80 that cost it's not for us. I would much rather get another one of the Devil's Towers.
Agreed.
Same price. I think that's it.
Yeah, that wraps it up.
Hope you enjoyed, and come back for more Whiskey Break.